It is a windy, sunny, barely 54-degree September New England morning. But other than a tiny chance of pop-up showers tomorrow night, we have like a week-long stretch of sunny weather again. And I've got a lot of second cut still to do in the scheme of things for September. Several batches, including another one I could add on maybe if I have time for it. So I'm going to risk it, knowing that at least that chance of pop-up showers is slight, and it's in the evening or even overnight. And sometimes this time of year, I mean, the dew is just so soaking that a shower overnight, you almost can't distinguish that from dew anyway. Now, I am bypassing these fields that are actually right next door to where I was and heading way up that way on Cricket Hill. Part of my reasoning is that I might run out of barn space up on Cricket Hill, and I'd rather do that with the hay that's up there rather than fill it with hay down there, or down here. But also, these fields get better sun. This one, and also that one, kitty corner to it, get really good late sun. And so, knocking out the ones up there that have more shade lines, plus the barn to put it in, is what's making sense to me right now anyway. And these are a good almost 10 minutes closer to where I live. So if I'm having to mess around with them late September, mid-September, late September, it's a little less exhausting than going all the way up there. So, here we go. There's a lot of hay in these fields though. This is more second cut than I've seen up here in a long time. Granted, last year, first cut was so late that I didn't fertilize. And the year before that, it was so dry. But there was a lot here. It's a milkweed forest that I am going to spend some time picking out the milkweed. As exhausting as that is, the grass is just too nice. But I did hit a couple rocks. And it always behooves me to check. And right here, got a pretty nasty one. That's now flopping a lot more and coming really close. In fact, it's making contact right there. So it's worth checking and changing before hopping on to the next field. Well, I just had my personal taxi service give me a ride to go fetch the other tractor. And I was planning on hopping across and mowing the other field today and really scrambling to get everything mowed. But checking the forecast, the chance of showers tomorrow is kind of increasing, which I don't think is going to hurt the hay any, but it will slow the process down. And maybe make me have to work it extra. And I think I'd rather contain that to this field. So instead, I might just wait and mow that other field tomorrow if I've got time and the showers don't seem too bad. You know, it's so easy this time of year to get really ahead of yourself and just keep on mowing with momentum because you're exhausted, and then you kind of outmow your capacity to deal with weather stuff. So there's a lot of hay here, and rather than trying to bale both fields on the same day, it's a nice enough stretch. I'll just stagger it by a day, and I think that'll be fine. It did take about 45 minutes to clean up the milkweed. The folks that live here and have sheep, they helped. We rescued some monarch caterpillars thanks to the help of their daughter. But it looks a heck of a lot better without the milkweed in it. It is nice to have this tedder back in action. Knock on wood. does a really nice job. And it's funny, it doesn't throw the hay nearly as high as my other tedder does. But again, I just watch the hay roll over perfectly and expose the underside. Well, the tedder did well. There's still some play in this head that we just redid though. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if that's worse than when I just put it together before tedding this field. I'm hopeful that what it is things just settling a little bit and that shaft being a little bit worn. I mean, I know brand new bearings just went in there, and I even raised the tine height a bit to really make sure things weren't hitting. So I'm gonna grit my teeth and just see how that goes. Yeah, that's a little disconcerting though. I wish that was tighter. Well, it's already beautiful today, but the chance of showers tonight has solidified a little bit. They're saying maybe 50% chance of showers right around sundown, and then maybe again around midnight. They're still saying less than 1/10 of an inch. So I maintain that's not going to hurt stuff much at all. This time of year, the dew is so heavy that if I didn't have radar or a rain gauge, I probably wouldn't notice it, is going to be my theory. This stuff is wilted down, but it hasn't dried that much yet. But I'm going to do this, and then I'm definitely going to mow that other field because the rest of the week looks amazing. So the rain shouldn't hurt this much, and definitely shouldn't hurt anything freshly mowed today. Some second cut here. Holy cow. All right, not complaining, I don't think. 135, 150, 165. It's kind of fun. The 150 belongs to the folks that own this whole property up here. It's gas, they brush hog with it. I've never really used it other than just moving it out of the way, but it's funny having them all here. Okay, it's getting on to 3 o'clock. It's been 4 hours since I touched this, and we've got overcastness and just a whole popcorn slew of showers to the west. But it's really hit or miss. They're covering a lot less area than they're missing. So I don't know where we're going to get here. But this has made some decent progress. The top is a bit crispy. The bottom is greener than the top. So I am going to flip this again with the tedder gently. I might even see if I can kind of get a windrowing-ish function by running it slowly. I know that these tedders have the option of a second PTO spot to kind of do that, but I'm just going to do it at lower engine RPMs and just see. This stuff's definitely not ready to rake, but if I can both flip it around a little but also windrow it a little, that'll protect it somewhat. I don't know. That's actually not half bad. Just above an idle. Those aren't bailable windrows or anything, but that minimizes how much of it's exposed to rain by almost half. Okay. See the color difference here. So I'm kicking up greener stuff. That's hopefully what's going to take the brunt of showers in a little bit if they hit. And if not, it'll dry a little. It's kind of a win-win. It's kind of satisfying though. Different ways to use a tedder. It's a Swiss Army knife. Well, it's almost 11 a.m. on Tuesday, and I think we missed any showers last night. Nothing came through before sundown. If there was some after midnight, it's not noticeable. This stuff looks great. What I teased up last night has already started crisping. It's funny how this time of year, it's like getting on it before 11 doesn't really do a lot. So it makes my mornings a little bit more relaxed. Ooh, nice crispy top layer. Okay, so my hope is to give this just one more tedding right now and then rake this at like 3 o'clock or so. And then hopefully be good to go on this tomorrow. I'll ted the other one twice. The big question is whether I pop back down the hill and mow any of those other fields. It's kind of feeling like being in too many places at once right now. But with this kind of amazing weather forecast, right now it's good through Sunday, Monday, and being only Tuesday right now. It can all change, so I always worry about getting too far ahead of myself. But knowing that if I mow something and ted it once and let it sit for a day, it'll still make some progress, and then I can hop on it. So I'm not sure. I don't know if anybody familiar with these tedders has advice on what that rattling sound is. I feel like I've checked everything on it. When I tedded yesterday, I kept attaching a bungee cord to different things. It's not the stand, it's not the pieces that are spring-loaded to keep it in transport position. I really can't figure out what's rattling around. Anyway, maybe it's just a common thing with these tedders, but I don't know. I'd love it if it was a little quieter. I do know it's not while it's if I'm stationary and the tedder's running, doesn't make the sound. If the tedder's not running and I'm moving, it does. So it's something on the frame or a guard or a shield or something. Anyway, small potatoes. Fingers crossed the important stuff's working. Well, this one made some progress yesterday, but honestly not a ton. It's still pretty fresh. And I tedded it in high 2, and I was seeing some big clumps come out. So I'm going to take the time to ted this in high 1 and just really spread it out nicely. It's only about 1.5 acres. Well, close to 2 acres. All right, so there's some crisp to the top layer, but really big clumps, so I'm glad to get this spread out. Hay drying day. Low 70s, unending sun, constant breeze, no humidity. So it's about 1:30, maybe it's closer to 2 by now. And I'm raking it, the first batch. It's still a little green. There's some real good crisp going on, but I'm still seeing some green stuff. And overly cautious me, especially for September. I was on a knife's edge of tedding it again lightly, but I decided, you know what, let's let the rotary rake do its thing. Get some nice, fluffy, aerated windrows and let this nice breeze blow through it. It helps that I know that if for whatever reason this isn't ready tomorrow, I'll be fine. So yeah, my hope is just to re-rake it once tomorrow, but in September, New England, I'm always prepared to work it a couple extra times than I think, or than I originally thought. With how heavy the dew is and how damp the ground can be, I think I'm gonna plan for the possibility of raking it twice on the baling day. hopefully only do it once, but not have my whole timing prepared for just a single rake and then baling by one or something. Tell you what though, this is some beautiful second cut. Timothy with some orchard grass, a bit of perennial rye, but it's just super leafy. The rake's cleaning it up pretty nice. The re-rake, I think, will clean it up even nicer. See how much is here. This field here is a little less than 3 acres without that knoll. So I'm guessing 125 to 150, which I rarely get 50 bales an acre on these fields of second cut because they're so much later. By the time I get first cut off, there's a little bit of second growth in it. It's almost like a second, third mixture here. Anywho, right there are the two next fields to do. But I'm going to work with the owner of the barn up there to reinforce the floor a little bit and allow me a spot to stack 200 to 300 bales, I think, to start with. So that's going to be the priority today, rather than running all the way down here and mowing one of these and having to go back and forth. The forecast is still looking good through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Okay, it's a little after 3:30. I raked the stuff a little over 2 hours ago. How is it seeming? It is seeming pretty nice, pretty crispy. What I'm just curious about is there still more green on the underside? Because that's not really going to do anything else today. And what my thought process is, it's been 2 hours, still a lot of sun left. I could flop this over again and try to hedge my bets that tomorrow is just going to be one re-raking, and then I could get going sooner. Yeah, there's still a little bit of some of this green stem. The breeze is real nice right now, though. I got to think about this. Because it's excessive to rake it twice today. I get that. But if it means confidently only re-raking once tomorrow, then that allows me to get baling sooner, not have to deal with that shade line, and then maybe even go mow some more. There is some kind of damp greener stuff on the underside of these windrows touching the ground. Everything else feels great. I have the time. I'm gonna re-rake this. I'll flop it inward. And then tomorrow I can probably flop it inwards a second time if I double up the very center. And that gives me some flexibility tomorrow. Yep, because I have hopes of maybe mowing some more fields tomorrow. I know I don't have time to do that today. This stuff is beautiful. I mean, again, leaf shatter, I am not worried about in grass. I'm gonna be tedding this at a lower, or raking it at a lower RPM. It's September. When in doubt, work at an extra time. I think I've said before that my September haymaking strategy, when possible, is to get the hay feeling baleable by the end of the day before you plan to bale it. And then all you got to do is get the dew off. It gets harder and harder to do that. But, yeah, okay. What's getting flipped over is greener than what's sitting here. And you know what? I like raking. I don't know how many fields are left this year. I guess I do, but weather can change everything. And these tractors are darn fuel efficient. These 4-cylinder Perkins diesels. I'm always amazed at how little fuel I'm putting in. I should do the math sometime. So I don't know. I'm justifying all of it. Downhill. breeze is just going. And I don't know if I've ever seen Mount Monadnock more clearly. Up in New Hampshire. Yep, there it is. I say it before, you can see Boston from there. So Boston's 2 hours to the west, or east. But anyway, yeah, this is great. Can't ask for better weather than this. Seriously. All right, about 11 o'clock on Wednesday. This stuff ought to be ready to flip over and hopefully bale it in a couple hours. Let's see. Top, very crispy. Bottom, actually not even that damp. Damp for sure. I got to flip it over, but I was worried I'd find this too damp and not be confident that a single re-rake will do it. But I think it will. Great. Okay, hop to it. Should be the final tetting, but definitely a lot of green kicked up, so my plan on making this stuff 4-day hay I think makes sense. Just don't get the same amount of dry time each day this time of year. Really nice stuff though. I think this field's even nicer than the other one. So hopefully this will just cure out nicely today. I'll rake it a few hours. I'm not sure if it'll be before or after baling the other field. All right, well, it's only been an hour. It's noon, and these rows are drying the dew out pretty well. Tops are getting crispy already. Bottoms, still a little damp. So I got to go swap the mower for the baler anyway. Bring the 275 all the way down the hill to the other fields, drop it, grab the baler, come back up. And then I'll see. If I need to flop these over again, I will. It's excessive, but I hate borderline bales. Don't want to bury dampness in a bale. And with kind of the second cut surplus this region's starting to show, I want to have stuff that's absolutely perfect. So we'll see, but it may be not needed. I'll go do that to kill some time and come back and feel them, and maybe I'll try putting some together first. I'm not sure. Beautiful day again though, so I don't want to be too impatient. I could give this to much later in the day. The problem is this shade line up here for this section, so I don't know. Hi Bean. I will say I haven't done this switch yet because I was holding out hope that I could actually mow something when I did it, but I don't think I have time. I'd, take me maybe a good couple hours, and then I could be back up, and maybe this stuff would be ready, or maybe it would still just be sitting with damp bottoms to it. So I don't know. It's a challenge this time of year to cover as much acreage as I want, but still get the perfect second cut that I'm expecting. All right, we're at 1 o'clock, and this stuff is beautiful. The very bottoms are damp. I can tell that by feel, and I'm getting validated from this. So yeah, I guess we're kind of on two re-rakes on a baling day territory, which might be in the minority of people that do that. But I mean, when you've got actively damp hay, I'm not throwing it in a bale. Might be fine, but the stress and anxiety and of did I get this batch perfect or not? Sent home with people perfectly. Nope, I'd rather just flop it over again. So I'm willing to admit the second rake yesterday was maybe excessive with that in mind, although it did help it come along, I think, because that was more for curing yesterday. This stuff's now perfectly cured, just needs the dew off of it. And I'm always curious to compare with people out of region or even different sub-regions of New England. I mean, this time of year, the ground just harbors some active dampness. You've got the transpiration happening from the grass, so it's always landing off some kind of dampness. We just don't get dry ground in September. It's close, but it's not dry. So, I've found time and time again that if you let hay sit even longer in September, that bottom actually just gets more and more damp. It's almost like this juggling act of trying to keep it moving so none of it touches the ground for too long. And I know that sounds counterintuitive. You'd think that this time of year you want to let it sit for longer, but as we approach baling, I just keep finding that giving it a final re-rake within the hour of baling makes all the difference. So I don't know if anybody else runs into that in New England or elsewhere. Well, this is making me wonder a little bit if I should experiment at some point, now that I've got a much better tedder that thoroughly grabs the hay and the rotary rake. I don't know. I know some people don't rake till the day they're baling. And I always like knocking it in windrows the night before. Helps with aeration, I find. And in theory, it makes the baling day go faster because you can just re-rake it and then bale. But that doesn't count if I'm raking it twice on a baling day. This makes me wonder a little. I still, well, there's more experimentation to be had, I guess. I still always feel more comfortable tedding on the same day as the first raking. But if that's the case, and I know on a baling day I'll ted and then rake it in a couple hours and then bale it and have better results, I don't know. I'm not about to try it on that batch because I do hope to mow more later today, and I want to get that tedder moved and get that tedded out. So I'll still rake that this evening, and but maybe with the next couple fields I'll try one of them where I don't rake till day up. I mean, I did that in one of the small fields in the last batch and it worked fine. I guess this is where I get a little hypocritical though, because tedding on the baling day feels unnecessarily rough to the almost fully cured hay. Even a rotary rake, I think, is a lot more gentle on it. But here I am saying I'm not worried about leaf shatter and grass, which, it's not entirely true. When it's ready to bale or it's fully cured, yeah, that'll shatter and turn into confetti. So, I don't know, I think this is still more gentle on it than if I tried to ted this today, even lightly. I guess I should just recognize every year is different too. We're getting heavy dews this year, even though the weather's been beautiful, but also the second cut is fairly thick for September. So of course it's going to be harder to get it fully dry. If this stuff was thinner, it'd be a piece of cake. In fact, I'd be double and a triple in a month. So, okay, those are my musings for now. Well, that first lap around was frustrating. I got these bales too dense, but I was seeing stuff pop up to 20% in all kinds of different spots, not just the shade. So I don't know what I'm going to do with these ones. There's one that seems decent. I'm going to back the cranks off and try this other stuff. That's, yeah, I mean, it should be fully cured. It's just a matter of chasing the shade, and then hopefully the rest of this stuff's all great. So, I don't know, frustrating. Another time around and they're better. But I really truly hate to say it. Even on day 4, I'm not 100% sure that this stuff is cured enough. It's coming in closer to 12, 13%. Saw a couple blips up to 15, but there's some of these micro stems that are feeling a little lush. I can smell it on these. Such a small amount of windrows here. I'm going to finish baling this upper part and I think see how they do. And this gives me the whole rest of the day to let this stuff sit in the sun. So I think that's what I'm going to do for now. And then maybe try baling some of this later. Give it another hour or two. Should not need to flip it again. Not with this sun in there. The dew should be thoroughly off of it, I think. So, but maybe I'll go rake that other the other smaller field, something like that. But man, day 4, you wouldn't think to question this, but you can just feel it, ever so slightly smell it. Some of these front ones that are real heavy, I might bust those back open again and try to bale them later. I don't know. Driving myself a little crazy here. Okay, here's where I've really lost my mind. 5 of the heaviest actively damp bales from that first time around. I'm spreading them back out. Whether I bale them tomorrow, I don't know. I don't want feeder bales. Not with weather this nice. So I'll go feel those. I think I'm gonna go rake the other field and then come back. Okay, that other field's raked. I was hoping to get some more drone footage. My friend came back, but the software wasn't working. So no footage there. It's okay, you guys have seen raking. Raked up the 2 broken bales. Not 2 broken bales, 6 broken bales. Let's see how this stuff is feeling. I hope it's great. Oh, it feels so nice. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be the amount of shade that part of the field gets. I'm trying to get on it early before the dew sets in. The rest of this feels wonderful. It's about 3:30. All right, let's try to put this together. Okay, this stuff's seeming pretty perfect. Seeing 10 to 12%. Feels really nice. It's just wigging me out a little bit how iffy that was. And I have had a couple years ago, that I think I pushed this in 3 days in September, thought it was good and had them come out iffy. So, you know, I get paranoid this time of year, but nope, time to put this through. Switching wagons at 74, which seems silly, but that'll just allow me to bale the rest of it onto one wagon, including the tippy bit. That a full wagon would tip right there. All right, so 45 more. So that makes, I think, 119 so far in this field. I am going to leave these broken bales for tomorrow as well as over there. I just know there's green stuff in it, and I just don't want to bury that. I got to come here to hook onto the baler tomorrow anyway. Same thing with the rake parked here, so I'll just flop these over and then hit the other field. Yeah, maybe there's another 8 bales. I really don't care. So I'm going to get this stuff tucked away in the barn, and then I'm going to, I think, go down the hill and mow another field. Or 2. We'll see. It's only 4 o'clock. Okay, so I decided to flop these over again. I was seeing a lot of green on that half of the field that gets shade most of the morning. And there's still a lot of good sun. So 20 minutes to flop these over. I'm doing it. This is already proving challenging. It'd be great to get this baled tomorrow. Maybe I'm being impatient. But I'm just kind of recalibrating for September haymaking here. Gotta work it more. All right, I feel better having new surface area in the sun. And then that'll be the stuff that also starts to cure as the dew's getting off tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know. I'm good with it. I'm good with it. All right, let's get these wagons in the barn and go mow some more. There's a decent amount there. It's 6:30. I'm gonna TED this all out because I gotta focus on a couple office things first in the morning and then unloading those wagons with my friend that can help me. So that way this will just be spread out. It'll start to dry out tomorrow and I'll TED it at some point midday when I can. Yep. Well, it's about 11 o'clock, a little after. My friend and I got that all unloaded. 90 really beautiful good ones, couple of feeders from that outside round, and then 14 that are just a little iffy. Yeah, like 17, 18%, probably fine, but I don't want to just send them home with someone. So I've got this a little bit more to bale here today, plus the other field. I figure what the heck, leave them on the wagon, let them sit in the sun, see what they can cure out, and then store them separately. I don't know. I mean, again, I always drive myself crazy this time of year. But I'm a perfectionist with hay anyway. And with there being this surplus of second cut right now, I just want to make sure what I'm sending home with people is perfect. Even at noon and 4 rows in, this side of the field has just wet green in it from all that shade. And even when I dropped that wagon off, I could feel those upper windrows still had wet on the bottom. So, raking it right now. Gonna let it sit for a couple hours. I'll go TED that other stuff that I mowed and spread out last night. And then come back up, flop this again around 2. And my plan is to bale with the 165 since it's already up here. I used to do this field. I used to do all my fields just with this tractor, so. That's the current plan rather than shuffling tractors back and forth. With these new tires, it's got plenty of traction. It runs the baler well, it just doesn't have the 4th gear option for low or high range. It's only got 1, 2, 3. So that makes it a little less ideal for baling second cut if I want to cruise along. And also there's a little bit of chatter at the PTO of the baler on this tractor for some reason. Something to do with the angle. I don't know if my drawbar on this one's a little farther out. I should check that. But I baled earlier in the year and I was reminded of that on the corners, the baler PTO chatters a little with this. So maybe trying to avoid it a little for right now. Yeah, you round this corner and you can just smell the green again. Okay, flopped over. But man, what this stuff brought up is actively damp. Not too surprised. I just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to get enough sun. Yeah, this is just like, it's wet. So, let it sit for a couple hours and flop it over again and see what happens. You know, I suppose if this stuff is regreening and yeah, if it's coming back alive again, and I'll get it today, then hopefully it'll just finish dying. I'll try to get it tomorrow. I don't know. It's weird to think about 5-day hay on a stretch like this, but the grass dictates it. Yeah, man, I almost wish I had the tedder up here. All right, let's see what happens. All right, it's getting on towards 1 o'clock, and I haven't touched this yet today, but getting it all spread out last night, just before sundown. Yep. It's crisping like crazy. So the top is tacky, but definitely a lot drier. All right, well, I think I'll just TED this once today. The TEDing late last night was kind of like a freebie for this morning. Well, the underside of the rows are definitely still damp. Tops are getting crispy. So it's about 2 o'clock, well, quarter of. Gonna flop them again. See what we can get, I don't know, out of this field by 3 o'clock or so. The shade will start to move in after that, but I don't know if I've got to bale the uphill half today and the downhill half tomorrow. So be it. It does get better the farther up you go. But still some damp stuff. Well, I'm feeling perplexed. On a lot of this field, I can smell it. That it doesn't smell like it's there yet. Similar smell to when a bale is too green and you can just, you know. Definitely less so on this top side that's been in the sun longer. You'd think 4 days of this kind of weather. I mean, I guess Monday got a little overcast with that shower chance that didn't hit. But on day one, that's definitely cured down a bit. But then the last 3 days have just been this. I remember there was one year, this field took me 7 days to get through the Baler this time of year. But it's because we kept having cloudy days and all kinds of stuff. And it was just fighting the dew for like the last 3 of them. And this is the opposite. This should not go into day number 5. Well, I'm gonna try to be patient. It's only about 2 o'clock. Maybe I'll actually rest a little bit. See if this cooking in the sun changes anything. That wasn't a questionable exercise in futility. These darn windrows that I'd made with the bales broken apart, they were damp on the underside. I only flopped them once today because that was ridiculous. Oh, probably would have been better off leaving them in bale form yesterday. Yep, there's dampness. Well, whatever. Okay, it's about 3:20. I'm gonna try this. This outside windrow still has some dampness on the very bottom, but the rest of it is so bone dry. I don't know, I'm driving myself crazy here. I'm in surplus territory anyway, so if I make this stuff and sit on it and see how they do, the worst that happens is I discount them as being a little musty. I don't know. But I'm just spinning hypotheticals. Let me try it. Upper half of the field was great. I popped in a few windrows coming back, 15 to 18%. I drive myself crazy with this. All right, well, the hay dictates it. There's no 2 ways around it. These ones feel good. I didn't use a moisture meter by hand. These ones were all heavy. So I'm gonna bale the upper half of this, uphill half, that side, left. And then that'll buy me some time. I might drop this, put the rake on, flip those other windrows over and see what the rest of the day has. This is ridiculous, but I'm not putting up funky bales. I'm not doing it. That upper stuff baled. It's about that many. I don't know, is that 50? I'm not quite sure. For the most part, moisture seemed great. And I know I'm getting a little whiny. I need to chill. I love doing this. It's also, I'm choosing not to use a preservative. I've gone around on that. I think I'm gonna be doing some research on it this winter. But the polling I've done on my customers, they really don't want it. So I'm old school on this, just trying to get the hay perfectly dried the natural way. Anyway. I would use the 135 to rake, but it's having dead battery issues. So I'm just gonna pop the baler off, flop these windrows over, give it half an hour, see if that makes a difference. I'd really love to not be mussing around with these today and instead mow another field tomorrow. All right, or later. It just gets so perplexing. with perfect drying weather. And on the one hand, I'm on my own worst enemy with the moisture meter and being perfectionist. I did it by feel for years before getting one. But on the other hand, the meter's telling me what I already know. I was feeling dampness on the outside of those rows. And so I'm not too surprised. And there's something to be said for the super dry hay in the bale equalizing. Boy, it is just that fear of missing the mark on it on a forecast like this. But at this point in the day, I feel like everything is completely cured. It ought to be after 4 days. And if I give this one more day, it would just be the Sisyphus situation of saturated by dew again and then spending all day trying to get it dried. I remind myself, September hay, I often sort it. It's maybe not that common to have a bulletproof batch that I just throw completely in the barn and don't worry about. And I wonder why I'm tired. Well, I gave that a little longer. I wanted to fit this all in one wagon, but kind of have pre-sorted the better stuff to make my life easier in the barn. So it actually doesn't take long to pull the stack forward and stack it forward. And then those windrows will all get kicked loose back here. And by the time I get to them, I'll have a lot more wagon space for sorting. Yeah, most of the stuff feels pretty great. You know, I think back to before I had the moisture meter. I don't think that I'd think twice about this, although there are some heavier bales that have a little bit more of a smell to them, and I think I would just sort them by feel, but also not be perfect. And maybe perfection is not a fair thing to shoot for in hay, but I don't know. I do my best. Maybe more feeders. Bit better here. Just going to enjoy baling with the 165. All right, well, 71 bales. I'm hopeful at least half are good. Some are iffy. But yeah, from this little field, that's not bad. At least it's done. Yeah, pretty nice, beautiful looking stuff. That whole back, yeah, there's going to be feeders in there. I was seeing a lot that was 17, 18, 19% on the in-baler monitor, and that's without them sitting and sweating at all. So it is what it is. A whirlwind of hay in, hay out. It's like 45 of those bales are great. There's another 18 or 19 that feel iffy. They probed at like 18, 19% on the moisture probe, so that's a little too iffy, but all in all, getting some decent usable stuff out of that field's not bad. And then we just got 100 bales of first cut out with some folks home and away and made some more space for second. So nice to have this field done.